G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to Mags TV's coverage of the E3 streams 2016. I watch these every single year, but this will be my first year covering them, and we're starting off with the Bethesda stream, so let's get into it. So we start the stream off with a countdown to the start of the show, which was a really odd way to begin considering the stream and the event actually began over 15 minutes late. Which leads into a retro-style DOS boot-up. These seem to be becoming very popular these days, and I actually do like the aesthetic of this. It looks like we're starting off with id Software's Quake. I was a massive fan of this game back in the day, and with the recent success of Doom, I have to say that I am a little excited for this. Unfortunately, all we got from the presentation was, well, this. A very, very pre-rendered trailer. And I'm one of those people that I really have trouble getting hype over any of these anymore. I want to see gameplay. Show me gameplay, and then I'll get hyped. Although the trailer did give us a bit of a look at the aesthetic that they're going for. The characters all seem to be from 1999's Quake 3 Arena, a game that I basically played all the way through the end of high school, so there's a lot of nostalgia there for me, and it does look like they're going for the arena shooter setup. Without seeing gameplay, I wouldn't say I'm hyped, but call me intrigued. And of course we get the title card shot, and it looks like they're going for the original Quake logo for this one, and it is Quake Champions.
The game that defined competitive multiplayer is back and better than ever.
We haven't seen any gameplay yet, so I guess we'll take your word for that.
Quake Champions is a competitive, arena-style, first-person shooter for the PC, designed for players of all skill levels.
Now that line immediately got me worried. You're supposed to build the game and then players will build the skill to play it competitively, not design the game for players who lack competitive skills so that they'd never need to learn in the first place.
Whether you are new to Quake or have been fragging for the last 20 years, Quake Champions will give you the challenge and rush you'd expect from id Software multiplayer games.
Again, you're not reinforcing my confidence here. You're talking about two groups of people that have distinctly different skill levels in a multiplayer environment. The only way what you're saying could be so is if you were doing something to either boost the performance of a lower skilled player or nerf the performance of a higher skilled player, which is not on in a competitive environment.
Now, we know that high in performance is critical with this type of game. So be assured, as with any id Software game, that Quake Champions will be fast, with amazing graphics running at 120 Hz with unlocked frame rates.
Now we're talking. That's some news I really do like the sound of.
You're going to get heart-stopping action that will keep you on the edge of your seat as you fight in classic arena combat.
So Quake 3 Arena 2. Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Quake Champions also taps into another hallmark of the franchise: unique and badass characters.
I actually have to wonder at this point if you've played the original Quake 3. Quake 3's characters were essentially a set of skins and models. They had no personality, there was really nothing unique to them, they had no unique movesets. They were just a character that you could play as, which was perfectly fine for that style of competitive multiplayer environment, as you didn't want a performance difference between individual characters that could give an advantage. It was all on the player.
The game features a diverse cast of warriors, each with different attributes and unique abilities, allowing you to fight the way that you want.
Okay, so apparently somebody at id Software saw the hype around Overwatch and went, hey, we can do that too. So this is less of a Quake 3 Arena 2 and more of an Overwatch Quake edition. The worst part about that was actually the last line, allowing you to play the way you want to. Any game that has a character class that has a specific moveset does not allow you to play the way you want to. You play the way that character was designed to be played, and you play that to the best of your ability.
So as part of the launch plan for Quake Champions, Bethesda will be supporting and expanding competitive tournaments and leagues beyond QuakeCon, and we'll have more to share about that in the coming months.
Now, as a massive esports fan, I am completely down with this idea. This sounds fantastic. The only catch is it sounds like you are creating an Overwatch clone and you will be entering a competitive environment with Overwatch, so you better pull all the stops out on this game.
I hope you enjoyed this sneak peek into our newest game.
Once again, no gameplay, so we didn't get a sneak peek into your latest game. However, I wouldn't say I'm against the idea. I do enjoy Overwatch, and having a full-on competitor for Overwatch out there wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but I must say I'm a little bit disappointed this isn't going to be a Quake 3 Arena. I like the way Overwatch runs with the individual characters with unique skill sets, but a good high-speed multiplayer game without individual character skills, where performance comes down to the ability of the person playing, would be fantastic, and we haven't had a really good one of those in a while. And no, I do not count COD. So next up we have Bethesda's Pete Hines starting up the core of the showcase.
Now last year our showcase kicked off a big year for Bethesda, one of the biggest in our many years of making games.
Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, Elder Scrolls Online for consoles, Fallout Shelter, Dishonored Definitive Edition, and Fallout 4. So a standalone expansion pack, a very good one, but still a standalone expansion pack, 2 remakes for console, a mobile app, and 1 actual new game.
So let me mention just a few highlights. The Elder Scrolls Online was released on console and became one of the best-selling games of 2015 and was named MMO of the Year.
Console MMOs are rare enough as it is, and 2015 was not a good year for MMOs.
We launched Fallout Shelter, the very first mobile game from Bethesda Game Studios, and it became an instant hit and winner of multiple Mobile Game of the Year awards.
Only because Clash Royale wasn't out yet, and it was riding the hype for Fallout 4 like a boss.
In November, Fallout 4 was one of the biggest launches in the industry.
Yes, it was, and I did enjoy the game. Now, let's skip through to something actually for this year.
And just last month, the new Doom was released to rave reviews.
Yeah, you can get a pat on the back for that one. Doom was excellent this year. I really have enjoyed it.
The response to all of these games has been amazing, and your enthusiasm and support for us has encouraged us to go even bigger. You just heard about our new Quake game. Let's see what else we have planned for you guys.
You've just wound up the audience with Quake and now bringing back up Doom. What you bring up next better be fantastic.
At last year's showcase, I told you about the Elder Scrolls Legends, a free-to-play collectible card game.
And there's the letdown. Okay, so the Elder Scrolls Legends is a collectible card game based in the Elder Scrolls universe. It does look like a pretty good game for a card game. The problem is they announced this at E3 last year. So this is not new, and this is their intro for E3 2016. Now, as I said before, the card game itself does look interesting enough. It apparently has a single and a multiplayer mode, as well as a full campaign and a storyline that runs in the background, which, well, it sounds very interesting anyway. I do like a good RPG, and if it's delivered in a card-based format and it works really well, I am cool with the idea. But again, this was announced last year, and after ramping up the Quake and Doom for the intro, this just seems like an odd stepping stone to go to.
A 2-lane battlefield provides more variety and strategic depth. Players make decisions that change the cards they want to improve or add to their decks, and we offer a full single-player campaign, as well as multiple ways to play against the AI or other players in both battle and arena modes.
Yay, finally, some actual gameplay for the first time in the showcase. This actually kind of looks really good. I'm getting a very Magic the Gathering vibe out of it, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing.
Now, we began public beta testing in April, and so far the feedback from the people who have been playing has been terrific. To celebrate E3 this week, we'll be letting even more of you into the beta to start playing. Now, if you haven't signed up yet, just visit Bethesda.net, create an account, and sign up, and be sure to keep an eye on your email.
Pardon me for just one moment. Okay, and done. Let's continue.
Also tonight, we're very pleased to announce that in addition to PC and iPad, Legends will be coming to iPhone, Mac, and Android tablets and phones later this year.
And that is actually a really smart move. If Bethesda wants to compete with Blizzard in the card game arena, they will need to be on every single platform. Just for God's sake, make it run alright on Android, because Hearthstone runs like crap. So next up we have Fallout 4 DLC time. And I'm not going to lie, when I first saw this video and what was in it, I really hope this is a free DLC or something they just throw straight onto the workshop, because I thought this was a mod. I thought they may have been showcasing somebody's mod. Basically, it is a bunch of construction parts, working conveyor belts, elevators, and sorting machines, which I don't know why you would need them. On the upside, it's apparently available next week, so it's not going to take too long for us to find out. Now, this second one was a little bit more interesting. This one here, you make your own vault. Or more to the point, judging from the 111 on the vault door, you are going to re-enter Vault 111 and you're going to modify it and expand it and turn it into a settlement of your own. Now, looking at the way the construction worked in the background there, it looks like it's using a variant of Doom's level creator in order to run this. The other part that was interesting is this final view, which really does look like Fallout Shelter. And this one will be available in July 2016. And then on to the one that actually came with a bit of a CG trailer. This is Nuka World, what appears to be a full-blown DLC for Fallout 4 based around a Nuka-Cola themed amusement park, and it does actually explain the previous 2 DLCs as well. Those previous 2 DLCs contained elements that would be required if you're going to build amusement park rides and elevators to get up to the side of roller coasters and stuff along those lines. Whether or not this DLC is just going to be an amusement park, or whether or not it's going to have a full-blown storyline involved with it, don't know. And that was really all the coverage on Fallout 4. The next part of this went straight into Fallout Shelter. Apparently they're giving a massive update to the game that is going to include new combat, new locations, so on and so forth. Really, I'm not hyped for this. As far as I'm concerned, everything I saw in this particular clip was stuff that I thought should have been in Fallout Shelter in the first place. The only interesting part was it was going to be made available for PC. However, if they're going to release a Vault DLC for Fallout 4, why would you play Fallout Shelter? You would just play that.
We hope you're as excited as we are about all of the stuff coming to Fallout.
Not really. You really showed 2 what looked like mods and an update to Fallout Shelter, a game that sort of became redundant once Fallout 4 released. I'm a little curious on what Nuka World is, but as you've given us no information on that outside of a 15-second CG trailer, I've got no reason to get excited.
There is something else, though, that you've been asking us about, and yes, we've been working on it.
And enter a split second of hype as the Skyrim music started playing over a black screen before we actually got into the core content of the video. And this is a remaster of Skyrim for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I'm not much of a console player here. I assume there has been a lot of console players that have been asking for this, so it's good that they're getting it. But again, this is just another remaster of a pre-existing game that is a couple of years old now, although I will give it to it. It does look very, very nice. That said, moving on. So, next up to try and start the hype train, we have Arcane Studios.
Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm very excited to be here tonight on behalf of Arcane Studios, the makers of Dishonored.
Somebody in that audience either really likes Dishonored or really likes his voice.
Our passion is for a very specific kind of game, first-person immersive games.
That's a passion we share. Now give me something to get hyped for.
Our games blend narration and simulation in a way that makes every player's experience different.
I don't recall much simulation in Dishonored at all, but it was still a fantastic game, so go on.
Where players can improvise and where choices have consequence. Our games encourage replay in order to try different playstyles, so that players are free to play their own way.
Yes, Dishonored was a fantastic game, but we're strapped for time here. Let's get to the point.
In 2012, we released Dishonored. We were thrilled that the game was so well received by the gamers and the critics all around the world. That was like one of the best feelings for us developers. After that launch, my friend and co-director Harvey Smith took the lead on Dishonored 2, so he went to France in Lyon and worked with the team over there. Meanwhile, I have been busy in Austin working on something else with the team in Austin.
Alright, every single other person has looked really uncomfortable up on stage until this point. However, you are a smug bastard. Clearly you've got something up your sleeve, and clearly you're pretty confident in your product too, so let's go.
And tonight I have a surprise for you. I'm going to reveal what that surprise is in a minute.
Bloody cock tease. So, after a couple of more minutes of Raphael teasing the hell out of the audience, we finally get to the CG pre-rendered trailer for the new game. Now, the new game is called Prey, which is a rather interesting title, considering that Prey was also a game that was released in 2006 for PC, first-person shooter as well. This game, however, appears to be unrelated to that game in any way at all, at least from what I can tell from the trailer and the interviews afterwards, so it's odd that they would share the title. Raphael actually gives a really good description about what the game's all about, so I'll let him take over.
In Prey, you awaken aboard Talos 1, a very special space station. It is year 2032. You are the key subject of an experiment meant to alter humanity forever. But things have gone wrong, of course. The space station has been overrun by an alien threat, and you are now being hunted. As you dig into the dark secrets of Talos 1 and your own past, you must survive using all the tools at your disposal on board of the station. Your wits, weapons, and mind-bending abilities. Prey will be available next year on Xbox One, PS4, and PC. We'll have more to show at the QuakeCon, so be sure to join us there. Thank you.
So, overall, it's looking a little bit more like Dishonored in space, which is not necessarily something I mind. I really like Dishonored, and it seems like an interesting concept. I was getting a little bit of a Dead Space vibe from the setup, but Dead Space is a game that's pretty much dead to me now, so a replacement would be much appreciated. So, I'm actually looking forward to this one. So we finally start to see the E3 hype train beginning to roll out of the station for Bethesda, and we jump straight back to talking about Doom. Although with the game only being out a month, this is hardly surprising. The rundown here is pretty basic. The SnapMap map creation tool is going to receive a number of updates. It's going to have some new game modes available. There's going to be some new ways that content creators can actually manipulate their own maps. A few new texture packs, armor, so on and so forth is going to be added into the game. So basically what they already promised that they were going to do, they're just confirming that they're going to do it. The only other part to this announcement was for that of a DLC expansion. Unto the Evil Multiplayer DLC 1. This is a DLC expansion that has a number of new multiplayer maps unique to just this mode, as well as some new skins, some new weapons and some new armor types, and an entirely new demon that you can play as. Not particularly hyped for this one. I hate map DLC in multiplayer games. It's a really good way of segregating your community. If not everybody has the DLC, not everyone can play together. And honestly, I think the best part about Doom is its single player content, so not a lot of hype here from me, but for those who are waiting for the map expansions for Doom, here they come. So next up we have ZeniMax to talk about the Elder Scrolls Online.
This week is the one-year anniversary of the launch of the Elder Scrolls Online on Xbox One and PlayStation 4.
Interestingly, once again, no mention of Elder Scroll being available on PC. This was even more interesting in the context of what followed. Around 7.5 minutes discussing the history of the Elder Scrolls Online, starting at the release of the game on consoles at this time 12 months ago. Interestingly, the PC version of the game has been out since mid-2014, and yet it didn't seem to warrant a mention at all, at least not until near the end of the Elder Scrolls section. Now, the core of this particular section was the release of a new DLC based around the Dark Brotherhood, of which we are watching the trailer for now, and a new system called One Tamriel, where players that, as soon as they leave the starting area, will automatically be leveled to whatever the surrounding content of the zone that they are in. This removes the level caps across Tamriel and allows players to explore freely, which is actually an intriguing idea. I kind of like the idea of it. They gave no exact release date for One Tamriel, just that it will be released at some time fall this year. So, honestly, I just got the impression from the entire thing that Bethesda was ecstatic that they actually managed to make the abysmal PC launch of Elder Scrolls Online turn into something that people were actually interested in playing. So, next up in the showcase, Bethesda VR.
Ooh. Weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I think I've said the same thing to my wife at least once.
Weren't expecting that, were you?
Said it in almost the same way as well.
Now we have two games for you to experience. The first is the just-released Doom.
90 FPS playback would be more than enough for Doom to play smoothly on VR, providing you can actually achieve it. But at the speed that Doom plays, this may be the benchmark game to test to see whether or not you are truly immune to VR sickness.
You can take a virtual tour of hell and get a totally unique look at the very latest in graphics and true next-gen rendering from our id Tech 6 engine. In addition, we think the greatest promise of VR is its ability to immerse players completely into virtual worlds, and that the best games for that experience will be first-person open-world RPGs.
Orgasm.
So we have Fallout 4 for you to play as well.
Alright, this I'm actually really interested in. Fallout's gameplay is slow enough, especially in survival mode, being really cautious about your movements, that it would probably work really well in VR. On top of that, with the current VR headsets not having perfect clarity and perfect resolutions, the lower graphical fidelity of Fallout 4, which was something that a lot of people complained about when it first came out, would actually suit the VR headsets that we currently have. The lower graphical fidelity should also make it relatively easy to maintain a stable 90 FPS.
Wander the Wasteland, check out the iconic Red Rocket, try combat. I'm telling you, with a Pip-Boy on your arm, a dog by your side, a gun in your hand, it's pretty incredible.
Another orgasm.
Tonight we're pleased to announce that Fallout 4 will be released in 2017 on the HTC Vive platform.
With Bethesda's close workings with Steam, that actually makes complete sense. And interestingly enough, that may be enough for me to change my own personal preference from the Oculus Rift over to the HTC Vive.
And if you thought survival mode was an intense way to experience Fallout, you ain't seen nothing yet.
As a heavy user of VR tech in flight sims, I have no doubt at all. Anyways, moving on to the next game, Dishonored 2. Now, Dishonored 2 was, again, announced at E3 last year, so this is nothing new. However, this time, they've brought gameplay. And where last year I couldn't build up a lot of hype out of the announcement, actually having seen the game now, this is, without a doubt, my favourite game of E3 so far, and it's probably going to hold the title all the way through. I was a massive fan of Dishonored in the first place, and this looks amazing. Now, we're playing in a new city this time, and once again we can assume the role of Corvo as the main character from the first Dishonored game. However, this time we have a second option available to us. Emily, the young girl from the first game, is now a grown adult as the game is based 15 years later, and she is also a playable character and has powers of her own. Now, while the basic setup for the game and an explanation of how things got the way they were was given, it was never made clear if these powers are completely unique from the ones that Corvo had, or whether or not they are simply the same powers with just one or two unique variations. However, during the event, the powers were referred to as either Corvo's powers or as Emily's powers, which makes me think they are likely two separate skill sets, and depending on which character you have will change up what powers you have available. Another change to the original Dishonored 2 was the announcement that the characters are fully voice acted. No longer will Corvo be a silent protagonist, and Emily also has a few things to say herself.
I've gotta get away. I should talk to the captain of that ship.
This is a bit of a divergence from the original game. I don't particularly mind this idea, providing both characters are very well written and very well voice acted. The scripting for the voice acting seems to range between full-blown scenes down to quick quest prompts. Overall, the game is looking incredibly good. I do like the look of everything. The actual gameplay elements itself, as you can see on screen at the moment, are simply a better looking and more advanced version of the original Dishonored, which is in no way a bad thing. According to the conference, the developers have made much better use of verticality in this one, so climbing buildings is going to be a major factor in this new city, which I quite like the idea of. Although honestly, my biggest question at this point in time is the two characters themselves. You can choose which one you wish to play as, either Corvo or Emily, but does this mean there is two distinct storylines in the game and these two characters are going to play off against one another, so you'll be able to experience two different aspects of the story, or is it simply a selection of which character you're going to play through and both characters will play through the identical storyline? If it's the former, this is fantastic. The replayability of the game just went through the roof. If it's the latter, well, if I'm entirely honest, Dishonored had some pretty good replayability in the first place, simply using the powers and trying to work out more and more unique ways to mess up your opposition. Of course, they saved the best power reveal for right at the end of the stream, and this is what I've got on screen right now, and this was truly incredible to see. This is possibly the coolest game mechanic I have ever seen in an FPS of this kind. The device that Corvo has in his left hand at the moment is a clock of sorts, with a series of mirrors that folds out. The current realm that Corvo is in is the present, where this building is dilapidated and destroyed, there's nobody there. However, he can use the device to switch back to the past, assassinate people in that position, and then switch back to the present where the building is ruined and it is unguarded. The mirrors on the device allow him to visually see what's happening at that time in the past. Now, not only does this device allow you to perform the most uncounterable assassinations in the history of Dishonored, this device can also be used for puzzle solving, as doors that exist in one time period may not exist in the other, allowing you to switch back and forth to get through obstacles. And that of course brings us to the end of Bethesda's showcase stream, and it was fitting that Dishonored 2 was the game that it ended on, as it was clearly the game that carried the stream in the end. Overall, everything else was sort of interesting. I'm very curious about the game Prey, but we just don't have enough information on it to make any assessment at this point in time. As for the rest of the stream, honestly it left me lukewarm, although Bethesda VR and the announcement of a Fallout 4 version that is VR capable was a surprise and something that I'm definitely interested in trying. As I said, that particular announcement may have been enough for me to switch away from the Oculus Rift and start planning to pick up a Vive. The Fallout announcements weren't really all that interesting to me. The DLC didn't look particularly impressive, and I'm still curious about Fallout Shelter's relevancy now Fallout 4 is available, especially with one of those DLCs being one where you build a vault. Still, I probably will install on the PC version of Fallout Shelter when it becomes available, just out of curiosity to see what it's all about. Anyways, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching my first E3 roundup of the Bethesda Showcase stream. Let me know in the comments below if you like the coverage. I'm going to try and catch the Ubisoft stream tomorrow morning, however that starts at 6 AM if it's on time, so we'll see how that goes. Remember to click like if you do, dislike if you don't, and I'll catch you all next time.